your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
And maybe it's a little bit later than that. Anyway, I was listening to the Cowboy Hour, and man, another terrific Cowboy Hour last night. Brad Sham had Brian Anger on, the punter. And he had some.
No wonder you liked it.
Well,
got a kicker involved.
No, had nothing to do with that.
Also had the only guy on the team that didn't screw up the day before. So hey, we'll take that.
He could have had Brandon Aubrey, because that guy hit a 65-yard field goal with room to spare.
Mm-hmm. He's so good.
He is so good.
So good.
So Anger was asked about
Was he asked if this team sucks?
He was not.
Missed opportunity. Go ahead.
He was not. You weren't in attendance. He was asked by somebody in the crowd advice for punters, high school and college. And what he said was a bit of a surprise to me. He said for them to be, for the high school kids especially, and the younger kids, to be an athlete. He said, be an athlete. Baseball, basketball, soccer, football was all what he participated in. He said he loved basketball. And he cites basketball for his, jumping ability and his flexibility and what he's been able to do as a punter, and some of his. And then he talked about baseball. He said he was a terrific hitter. He said he was lean. They had him at first base. He said he thought he was going to chase a baseball scholarship in college, but he loved playing baseball. Loved it, and gave up the soccer. Went to football. He fought his parents on going to a football kicking clinic. Some guy by the name of Chris Saylor. I don't recognize the name. Anyway, and Brad Sham was like, "You mean you fought them because you wanted to go?" He goes, "No, I fought them because I didn't want to go." He goes, "They wanted me to go." And so I went to this thing, and he goes, and that guy took me aside, and he went to another kicking competition. He ended up winning it. He became a top recruit out of high school, and then a top draft choice. He was picked in the third round. He was picked over Russell Wilson in the draft by whomever he was picked by. I think he was picked by the Cowboys, but I didn't know that. But anyway, but he decided being an athlete and playing basketball. And then they were talking about these long field goals, because it seems like every team is kicking these long field goals, right? 60 yards,
Yeah. It's just impressive how far it's come so quickly. It feels like, it feels like 3 years ago or 4 years ago, if you were at 52 or 53, that was good range, right?
Yeah, right. That's exactly what he's talking about.
And now it's
52.
like it jumped 10 yards over like a 3-year stretch where that's normalcy, where you can expect a guy to hit a 63-yarder and it's crazy.
It was the 63-yarder, that Tom Dempsey hit in 1970. That record stood for years and years and years and years and years before Justin Tucker hit the 66. So anyway, he said the reason for the long field goals now is the focus on technique. He said it's all about the technique, and it's all about the analytics and everything along those lines. He said when he was in high school, he was a receiver for football, and then he punted as well. He said he wore receiving shoes. He said he wore his regular cleats when he punted, but now he wears like soccer cleats. It's a little bit different fit and a little bit different shoe, and doesn't give you the same kind of grip or whatever on the field as a regular cleat does. And then Sham was like, he goes, Danny White, for years and years and years was the Cowboys punter and the backup quarterback, and then he was the starter. He goes, I never ever asked him if he wore different shoes when he punted because he didn't have time to switch shoes.
No, probably not.
He didn't have time to switch shoes. And then he said this, and I thought this was for you, because you're going to love Brian Anger for what he said about this. Okay, stand by. So somebody went up to the microphone. They're at some bar restaurant in Dallas, and wanted to know if Brian Anger had any advice about being a dad, because he has 2 girls. This kid has 2 girls. This guy and Brian Anger has 2 young girls, a 3-year-old and a 9-month-old. And he said, be present. Stay off social media. when you're home. And somebody asked him, like, he goes, I play with my kids. Well, what do you play? He goes, well, with the 3-year-old, we play kitchen.
Whatever they want.
We play kitchen. And then she's got this other thing that's called fabric. And they had, like, they build forts and things like that, And anyway, it was really, really good. It was great advice for all of us. But just be present, stay off social media, stay off your phone. He goes, after we put the kids to bed, then it gives my wife and I a chance to do whatever we want to do, But anyway, thought that was, Jamie would love this guy.
It's good stuff right there.
Yeah, right, right. So that was the Cowboy Hour. So if you're looking for the X's and O's and why they didn't win or why they didn't lose or why they won or anything, usually it's not that. It's usually more about kind of a up close and personal. It's a conversation with these players. But I think it's just outstanding. And I've told you this every week, and I kind of stumble upon it every week. And on my way home from work, and I sat in my driveway and was kind of listening to the end of it as they were talking yesterday. And it was like I said, it was really, really good stuff. And it's on Mondays on Double T 97.3 from 6 until 7. He got drafted in the 4th round by Jackson. He said 3rd, but anyway, that's what he said. But he played 3 or 4 teams before Dallas. Okay. Anyway, the bottom line, he was really good.
Yep.
I didn't go into his Wikipedia and do all the research on that. Cowboys have a short week this week. They'll play the Giants on the road in the Meadowlands on Thursday, and we'll have coverage for you at 7 after Red Raider football with Joey McGuire, and then the kick from East Rutherford. Giants coming off a win. Cowboys, man, they cannot stop the run right now, can they?
Well, just defensively as a whole, it's been really rough, especially in the first half of these last 2 games. And it just kind of feels like it's really taken the Cowboys out of what they could do offensively, but you just had no answers on defense. And going back to that first game of the season, do you remember us talking about that Browns game and saying, yeah, your offense was impressive, but really it was the defense that was the most impressive.
Right.
Man, they have not been impressive the last 2 times out.
Like unimpressive. Like very unimpressive, almost maddening unimpressive. But the Giants, who Saturday you're reading about, Brian Sable lost the locker room and all this stuff, and then they win.
Yeah, I still think the Cowboys should win that game easily.
Okay. Hope you're right. We'll have it for you Thursday at 7 on Double T 97.3, This Day in Sports History, and a secret word next.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
September 24th, here is Jeff McGuire with This Day in Sports History.
1954, Yankees tie a record. 3 of their pinch hitters strike out in 1 inning.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Good coaching there, huh?
1971, Houston Astros beat the San Diego Padres 2-1. Took them 21 innings, but, 2-1 win. 1979, Pete Rose reaches 200 hits in a season for the 10th time in his career. 1983, Braves' Dale Murphy is the 6th to hit 30 home runs and steal 30 bases in a season.
I think he was the MVP that year.
1992, Toronto's Dave Winfield, at 40, becomes the oldest player to reach 100 RBI.
All right. Way to go, Big Dave.
And in 2022, Trey Wolf drills a 20-yard field goal for a 37-34 overtime win over number 22 Texas in Lubbock.
Woohoo.
Way to go, Trey.
A year later in 2023, Taylor Swift attended a Kansas City Chiefs game at Arrowhead Stadium. Speculation is she's dating a player.
Oh, my.
I had to put that in there today.
I have a theory that Patrick Mahomes is such a good guy that he's doing the rest of the world a solid by not throwing the ball to Travis Kelce this year, because she loses her mind every time he touches the ball. And these TV networks have just no sense that they just got to keep showing her. And so that's why Travis Kelce has like 6 catches in 3 games total or something. It's because Mahomes he's just doing the rest of the world a favor.
He's sick of it too.
Yeah.
Well, he's the one guy who never has to watch the TV coverage.
Yeah, but like a lot of people have probably asked him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, people are like, he's
Hey,
probably
Pat, could we do something about this?
man,
So
it just
spread it
drives me
around.
Crazy.
Happy National Cherries Jubilee Day.
We've talked about this before.
Probably a year ago, if I had to guess.
Probably so. What is it again?
Cherries Jubilee?
Yeah, what is it?
Like cherries and it's a concoction of like, I think like cherry pie kind of thing, but like smushed together, a lot more sugar, and it's a dessert.
I probably didn't like it.
If all the people in the world to accuse somebody else of talking about the same thing more than once. That was a little rich, Mr. Heinz.
No, I said we've talked about it. I didn't mean it. It was like I wasn't.
Oh, it was very, like you were annoyed that we had to deal with it again.
No.
Yeah.
I just like we've talked about this before. I didn't mean it. I wasn't.
You were criticizing it for mentioning it again.
No. Oh no, I wasn't. I wasn't being critical at all.
I'm not a cherry guy. I like cherry flavored things, but I don't like real cherries.
It's got orange in it and brandy and served over ice cream, vanilla ice cream, Jamie. Yeah, I'm thinking.
I like vanilla.
I'm thinking that this is not something that we signed off on.
Y'all might not have signed up on it. I would enjoy one right now. Happy birthday, Stephanie McMahon, who's 48. Kevin Sorbo, also known as Hercules, 66. Eddie George, 51. Joe Green, I'm not going to call him mean anymore because he gave that kid his jersey in the Coke commercial. He's 78. And Rafael Palmeiro is 60.
60 for Rafi. Hey.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that older than what you thought?
Yeah, that's older than what I thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
And on this day in 1789, the Judiciary Act is passed by Congress and signed by President George Washington, establishing the Supreme Court of the United States as a tribunal made of 6 justices who were to serve on the court until death or retirement. That day, President Washington nominated John Jay to preside as Chief Justice, John Rutledge, William Cushing, John Blair, Robert Harrison, and James Wilson to be Associate Justices. On September 26th, so like in 2 days, all 6 appointments were confirmed by the U.S. Senate. It would take us a decade to get 6 judges passed through a Senate today, and that is this day in sports history.
All right, Raymond Communications, Lubbock-based media group. We encourage people to shop and listen locally, like our listeners. That's why Double T 97.3 has teamed up with the Home Zone, making your house a home, to give away a total of $10,000 to lucky local listeners. To get registered, listen to us every morning at 6:45 and 8:45, and the Tech Talk fellows on Double T 97.3 at 4:45 for the local winning word. Then go to Double T 97.3, log on, and enter it there for your chance to win weekly cash every Wednesday, which is tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. The more times you play, the more chances you'll have to win. It's not a national contest, a local one, so the money goes to folks just like you that live in this town just like us. We'll give away one final cash dollar amount of $2,500 at 2 Docks on December 5th. At 6:50 and some change here this morning, our lucky local winning word is Gophers. Jamie, Gophers.
Gophers.
Like the Minnesota Gophers. Just put in Gophers. 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 Gophers.
Not golfers. That's different.
No.
Gophers. Gophers.
And you put in prairie dogs. That won't work either.
That won't work either. Dale Murphy did win the 83 MVP in the National League. He also won in 1982.
Dale Murphy's one of those guys, great player. That feels like so many people back in the day, that was their favorite player.
They
were, you could see them, the Braves. Mm-hmm. And I just think a lot of people really liked his personality and his skills well.
I've probably said this before because, as somebody has pointed out, I am the king of repetition on some things. I apologize for that. He might be the Dale Murphy or the Don Mattingly of the early 80s.
Yeah, because they didn't win a championship or anything.
And good
like
player,
that.
good guy, all those things. So, but they didn't. He went to. I think they had one playoff run for him.
Yeah, it's too bad.
Yeah, it's too before.
Seemed like a good dude.
He was there before they were anything there in the National League. Oh, wait, by the way, you were out that morning when Rob Bro and I were at the Rawls course for the Alumni Association before the North Texas game. One of the golfers there, gentleman went to Texas Tech, graduated here, played baseball here, was the number 2 guy for the Atlanta Braves during their championship runs.
Okay, very cool.
And he was there, and I got to meet him, and it was really cool, really nice to meet him. And he's now, I think, retired, and he's got his own little business on the side, but he was there for the height of the Braves' success and helping them win a world championship. Mm-hmm. So, and he was a Red Raider, and he was a baseball player.
Very cool.
Yeah, no, all those things. 6:52 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Somebody wants to know, do you all think you can sit through a baseball game if it lasted 21 innings, or would you leave early? I'd like to think I would stay for the 21, because I think it would get to a point where you're like, you can't leave this. You can't leave now.
Yeah, it depends on the situation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a night game, I definitely can leave because I would probably be getting pretty tired. Who's with me? I mean,
right,
if I got little kids with me, it's not happening.
Right,
but if I'm with a buddy or two and it's a 1 o'clock first pitch, yeah, we're definitely staying and enjoying every bit of it.
What if you're
also keep in mind it was a 2-1 game. It could change literally on one pitch.
Sure.
Well, it definitely had to be tied for to go extra innings.
Well, no, it was a 2-1. Like it was 2-1,
right.
And then 1-1. You assume for like 11 innings.
Yeah. Well,
I'm picking up what you're putting down, Jeff.
Yeah. Were you saying would I do it by myself?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Goodness. Yes.
That'd be easy, right?
That'd be the easiest. Yeah. Then I wouldn't have to worry about do they really want to be here, or am I just forcing them to stay with me? Kind of deal.
You wouldn't want to be the guy that you're with, the guy that would be complaining that they closed the beer sale so early.
I would never want to be with that guy ever. I spent my life avoiding that guy.
Because by the 21st inning, he'd be sober again and wanting more beer.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
7:15 this morning here on the Morning Drive. I could sit back and listen to this whole song. Mm-hmm. Mr. Roboto.
I think there was a Mr. Roboto in there.
Yeah, somewhere. That makes it more fun.
Strike that one from the list in the future.
Don't do that, Jeff. I like that one.
Makes it more fun the other way. 7:15 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Take your thoughts, comments. Do you have so like when you were doing your research, did you come up with some initial concerns about Cincinnati that you have?
Their defensive front.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and their ability to slow down the run.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
stopping them from getting to Barron and stopping them from slowing down Tosh.
Yeah. I think the other concern that was brought up was their ability to score early and kind of get ahead of the game a little bit. So you want to try to avoid that as much as you can as well. I mean, you're trying to, they're scoring about 31 a game, and their opponents are scoring 16 a game. But here in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, you'll be able to separate those non-conference games from the Big 12 games and maybe have a little bit better look on it. Although not everybody's playing everybody, so it's going to depend on the teams and who you're playing when. So you kind of have to analyze that a little bit more than the others as well. So it makes it a little wonkier than maybe what it used to be. Yeah.
I just look at the two teams, and I feel like that we have no idea what they're going to turn out to be. I mean, I don't think Cincinnati has a quote unquote quality win in the mix there. I mean, it was impressive how they beat down Houston.
Yeah.
But I don't know that's I don't know that Houston is a good team. I definitely don't think they are. And I don't know with the Red Raiders. I mean, you beat an Arizona State team that was undefeated, but they hadn't beaten anybody good either. So I just think there's obviously there's a lot of games left and a lot to figure out about these two squads, but I have no idea what to expect in that. What I do expect is you to score points because you're playing at home.
Cincinnati.
So that's the good news.
Just so you know, Cincinnati's a team that's gotten off to a hot start. Their opponents so far, they've outscored their opponents in the first quarter 52-6. Second quarter, just 27-20, 34-17 in the third, and then I've been outscored in the fourth. A lot of that was the Pittsburgh game where Pittsburgh came back and beat them. So Coach McGuire was asked yesterday about his defense, because the thought is the defense is getting better, right, as you've progressed. So the question was, how much of the defense getting better is the young guys getting experience and getting more reps?
It's a lot, man. Anytime you can just clear the nerves. I mean, your nerves are good, but there's a difference between, just a normal going out and playing because you're excited and anxious versus just, I don't want to say scared to death, but scared to death. Like you're just out there, you feel like you're on an island and nothing could go right. I think that has a lot to do with it. I do think that we continually are putting our players in better positions. I just keep challenging myself to challenging the coaches like, man, we've got to trust our players. We have some really good players, and they're starting to get better and better whenever it comes to the reps and knowing what's going on and trust they're going to go out and win the game. The one thing that we've done the last 2 weeks, and I'll just go back to, you can't have good defenses if you don't set edges, if you don't force balls lateral, if you let people run right, through the middle of your defense, if you let people throw over the top of you. I mean, there's a couple plays to where, it wasn't really blown coverages. We thought the ball was going to come out quicker than what it did, and so we were playing kind of a style of secondary that, and the ball didn't come out. And so some of the stuff that we're asking our guys to do that we got to change up. But you're 100% right. The more our young guys play, the more reps those guys get, the more comfortable they'll get, and they'll play really fast.
And I think we're starting to see some of that. And I think the other thing that they're doing is they're calling plays that they defensively or coverages that they have repped and feel really good in, and so they have confidence in those guys to be able to make those plays. Mm-hmm. And so as you kind of go through the season, maybe you can get a little bit more aggressive with some things because you have confidence in that player to be able to make that play.
Sure.
So
that opens up their kind of playbook a little bit of what you can do with them.
He was asked about his mindset yesterday, and he said what's going through my mind is, how did we get to overtime with Abilene Christian? How did we get to that? How did we let the quarterback run so much against Oklahoma State? And then he was shocked by the Kansas State score. I think we all were, in terms of what happened there with BYU. Mm-hmm. And then said, basically, we have an opportunity here, but he goes, we really need to play well. They really, really need to play well. And he really cited the need to have a really good week of practice. And he said, these are kind of some coach speak things. He goes, but confidence is in preparation. He goes, we have to have a good week of practice. And, it's kind of that way for anything. If you've prepared for something, it's a meeting or something that you have, and then you're really confident in, you're probably going to do better in it than if you've just winging it. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I had a meeting yesterday. I was really confident. I thought I'd prepared. Then I got into the meeting and went, oh, man, that's a little wonky on the page there as I was explaining it to this gentleman. And he was asking me a question like, oh, yeah, that's not right. I was so confident in my preparation, but a fumble. But I ended up taking it across the goal line. Okay. So it'll all be all right.
Okay, that's good.
It'll all be all right. And I was able to ad lib on the fly and make it all right and make it all good and make it good for everybody, which is what you want to do. Coach McGuire was also asked about his offense because it appears at times they're trying to slow things down. So he was asked about, are they trying to slow things down on offense with tempo?
Yeah, there's a couple things going in that. One is our pre-snap penalties, and so for us, like, how can we help our players, especially a really young center, is slowing it down, tempo. And we tempoed early in the first couple of drives, but slowing that down. It's really, one thing that we did against Arizona State is we wanted the football. Like when we knew going into that game that I think I talked about it a little bit on Saturday, but Kitley felt great about his openers. Whenever he felt great about his openers, and he was really, you could tell that he was confident that we wanted to take the football. We wanted to make a team that is more time of possession driven, play from behind. And then one reason that, and I told the team this yesterday, I was proud of our team is because when we got up 14, we slowed down. Like we were like, hey, we're going to snap this ball at this point right here. We know they're going to load the box. Great, stop Taj, and so that's kind of the winner. That game right there was one of the things that we're really focusing on and trying to get better at.
So, with regard to penalties this week, they're going to have officials that practice again on Tuesdays and Wednesday. Just because they're still trying to work on some of those penalties. I mean, obviously they had 9 last week. They had 7 in the first half. Trying to get rid of the pre-snap. I think they felt like they've done a better job of. There's some others that cost them. Pulling a player off the pile, pushing the pile, hands to the face, those kinds of things that are discipline penalties that he just won't stand for. So he's trying to correct that.
Unfortunately, he's had to stand for it a little bit because we keep having them. Yeah,
no, I know, and you got to figure out a way to stop that.
Yeah,
and make that happen. His 3 that he doesn't like: pushing players off the pile, cleaning up the pile, and then blocking below the waist. He said one of those took 20 yards away from Taj and kept us from running out the clock. So he's really focused on that as well.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
All right, this one's very wide open for you.
Oh, I love that.
But it's a 3-parter. I want you to give me 3 answers. Tell me 3 things that have surprised you about the Red Raider football season this year.
Well, I think I was surprised you couldn't put away ACU very easily, but I think that doesn't really count.
Why doesn't that count? That was on my list.
Okay, well, I'll keep it. I think as crazy as it sounds, the fact that you have a kicking competition between Reese Burkhardt and Gino Garcia, and it seems to be working. So it's like, why wake them up, right? You seem like, why mess with the tra-la-la? Because the every other guy seems to be working. So it's kept the bad juju away. So that's 2, and then 3. I thought the offense would be. I thought it'd be more potent. I feel like we're an engine that gets started at times and then sputters, and then starts and then sputters, or it sputters and then it starts. I just feel like the offense hasn't exactly clicked, kind of like what we thought. And maybe that's unfair, but that's just my perception.
All right, the first thing I've got feels really cheeky, and I apologize for that.
Cheeky.
But who's our starting quarterback this week? Same guy who was week 1, and he's been in all of them. Yeah. That's kind of a surprise. It's a pleasant surprise, a welcoming surprise.
Yeah, there you go. That's good.
I'm going to take that and enjoy it. It was actually what made me think of it was when Zach Kitley yesterday was talking to you yesterday, and it was, we got the same starting quarterback for the first 5 games. I went, holy cow, we do have the same starting quarterback for the first 5 games.
Why would you guys even bring it up?
Because you do.
You're just tempting fate here.
Second thing that surprised me is that you have the kicking competition but haven't missed a kick. Like at the beginning of the year, the way it was when they were talking in the in camp was that neither one of these guys has taken the job. Was kind of the impression we all got. It wasn't that they were.
Right.
It was one guy's going 10 for 10 one day, and the next day he's going 9 for 10, while the other guy's going 10 for 10. It was we're looking for. We got asked in the media if we could make a field goal, and these guys have not missed a kick yet this year. So that's been surprising. On the negative side, your inconsistency on offense has been surprising. With the guys that you've had throughout your roster that have been here for 3 years, and a 3-year offensive coordinator, and a 3-year starter with Baron Morton. Now, granted, he wasn't the official starter the whole season, but he started significant games for 3 years, and not feeling like you're still clicking on all 8 cylinders. That's been surprising to me.
That's better said, inconsistency, than this sputtering. Inconsistent.
No, I think the two are different.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, number one for me, the thing that's the most shocking to me is the lack of impact from Micah Hudson. 5 catches for 47 yards after 4 games. I mean, I didn't think he was going to have 1,500 yards this year, but I thought he was going to have 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever and catch 7 or 8 touchdowns for you and be a big factor. I mean, he is not a big factor at all.
He's a no factor.
He's a none factor. Yeah. Hopefully for him that changes at some point, but I'm very happy with the receivers that you have out there. So, anyway, we all know he's talented. Just he's got to get 100% healthy, and he's got to get, obviously learn the playbook and all that good stuff and be ready to go. But just really, really surprised there. Number 2 for me was what you touched on. Just shocked you gave up 51 points to Abilene Christian. Shocked. And that game ended up going to overtime. And number 3 is kind of an indictment on me personally. I'm shocked I'm usually decently level-headed, I feel like.
Okay, yeah, I think so.
I'm shocked at how quick I jumped off the bandwagon as far as I don't think we can make a bowl game. And I am shocked how quick I have jumped back on after 2 home wins that I don't know are that great. But now I'm suddenly back to, win this one, and maybe you can steal a couple road games, and we're back to 8 or 9. I mean,
what's going on with you?
I don't know. I just look at the rest of the conference every week, and I'm like, I don't think it's that good. I mean, we haven't been great. Yeah, I still think we have a shot. The conference is a mess, and it's fun. I'm here for it.
Okay, so that jumps to the second question that we're going to ask today. What's your record?
The second question that we're asking today.
Well, you had the first question. You had the question today, so the second question.
Yeah, I only get paid for one question per day.
Well, that's why I asked the question. Well, what's your record? I'm still at 8-4.
So I don't get fined. No, I'm at 7-5.
7-5?
Yeah, I'm still at 8-4. Yeah.
You're back up to 8-4 because you dropped down to 6-6.
Right, but then I jumped up to 8-4.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys have.
I've been rock steady.
Jeff never moved.
Right.
And you've been on par for Chuck.
Yeah, right. I've been on par. I've been my usual.
Yeah.
Ride the roller coaster. Right.
Yeah.
But
I mean, again, it's not like I don't think I was wrong for jumping off the bandwagon when you gave up 51
not at all
to an FCS school and you looked horrendous on the road at Washington State. I don't think I was wrong there. Where I maybe think I'm silly is now after 2 wins against, I don't know how good those 2 teams were. First of all, I don't think North Texas was good at all. Okay? And Arizona State, I just don't know. I don't know. And now I'm thinking, okay, maybe you can win some on the road. But maybe that's because TCU has looked so bad. Maybe that's because Arizona has looked so bad. And so I feel like, you got a chance there. Right? You got a chance. West Virginia has looked, average. So, maybe that game at the end of the season is easier. I hate that I feel like I'm more nervous about Colorado now. But anyway.
I don't think Baylor's any good, so I'm not really worried about it yet.
I agree.
And it was on the road. Baylor was on the road, so yeah, I'm not there yet.
I have kind of an interesting stat that I'll share after the boom, boom, boom with regard to the Big 12 Conference. I've just kind of glanced at this, and I'll just run this by you guys to see what you guys think, if you feel like that this is interesting as well.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Good morning with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz, come to you from the First United Bank studio. Look forward to hearing from you today on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app. It's presented by Happy State Bank. Visual Edge IT hotline is open too at 806-771-0973. You know, I know that they've been 3 non-conference games for most schools in all these different conferences, and one, maybe in some cases 2 in the SEC, depending on who you look at. But you know, the Big 12 used to be known as this prolific, high-scoring conference, right?
Okay.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it used to be without any defense.
Yeah, without any defense. But it did kind of surprise me when I looked at that and went, there's just 2 schools with over 150 points scored so far, Tech and TCU, and then the others are like it. There's just a bevy of them in the 130 category, like BYU 131, Utah 132, UCF 137, Cincinnati 126, Colorado 107. You know, and then then listen to this. For the 16 teams, there are 3 schools defensively that have given up over 100 points. Just 3. You want to take a wild stab at who those 3 are?
Mm-mm.
Okay, you don't want to. Okay.
I'm afraid the Red Raiders would be on the list.
Red Raiders are number 1 at points allowed in 131.
See, that's why I didn't want to guess.
TCU is second at 128, and West Virginia is 3rd at 114. Everybody else is below 100 points. Mm. So when you look at like the ACC, they have, I think, 4 schools over 150, including, you know, Miami's at 209, Pittsburgh's 194.
Yeah, so much of this is just
I know who you've played. Yeah,
season. Everybody has one of those. Yeah. Everybody has one of those games against an FCS team where they usually score 72 to 6.
Yeah, right.
You just happen to play yours into overtime for some reason. Yeah.
This may be a clip and save discussion for week 10 or something like that, to see what it looks like from a conference standpoint and things along those lines.
Here's the deal. Like, you know, we talked a little bit previously, and I was making some comments on the chat line about, I think the Big 12 is pretty equal, which makes it a lot of fun. This is, to me, is going to be the norm. I don't see any team just rising way above the rest.
Mm-hmm. In the Big 12?
In the Big 12. And I think that we're all going to be, or not all, but there are going to be a bunch of average teams, or maybe a little bit above average, that are the ones that are competing for the Big 12 championship. But you're not going to be SEC or Big 10. Mm-hmm. You're just not. You don't have nearly the money that they're spending right now.
Yeah.
And so the Big 12 conference, it can be fun and entertaining, and I'm entertained with what we're seeing this year. I just don't think the level of play is what the caliber of athletes is what we're seeing in the Big 10 and the SEC. I just don't, and the depth that those teams have with quality players. Mm-hmm. I just don't. I mean, even if you watched any of Tennessee and Oklahoma the other night, now it didn't end up being a blowout. I think Oklahoma lost by 9 or something like that. But Tennessee is just so much more physical, so much more faster, everything about them. Oklahoma, from where they were in the Big 12 Conference, which was always one of the teams that was at the top, they go to the SEC and it looks different.
Yeah.
It looks different. That Oklahoma team does not look like it used to look over here. Tennessee, now they're a top 5 team. Don't get me wrong. And Texas obviously looks really good.
Yeah, they're
making the transition, right?
Yeah.
But I just think that they're so much better than the teams in the Big 12.
But Texas has always been. I mean, they've been Texas. They just have not been.
And they've always been loaded with talent. Yes,
not always gotten all the talent out of it.
I think the teams from the Big 10 and the SEC are so much. I mean, it is I don't mean to disparage and say it's a second-rate league, but it's just not.
It's different.
It's different. That's a different level of football they're playing there.
This from the
because of how many high-level players they have, not just their starters, but their depth.
Yeah. This person says this off the Yates Flooring Center chat line. I said last week, I didn't think ASU was good, but I'm not sure if Tech is good. I still feel that way, but I also think every game is winnable. You buy in the every game is winnable aspect of that?
I'd have a hard time right now thinking you're going to win in Stillwater.
Okay. How about
every other game? Iowa State also seems like it would be tough. Every other game.
I do not feel great about next week. Still.
Yeah, no, I'm saying I feel great about it, but I'm saying it's winnable.
How do you feel about? Do you feel differently about Colorado and West Virginia now, or do you still feel about the same about them?
About the same. I guess I'm a little bit afraid of Colorado just because their offense is
that looks pretty
at times
prolific.
Been pretty good. And
do you think? Okay, just dare to think out. For the next 3 to 5 years.
I'll dare to think.
Okay. I was going to say dare to dream, but dare to think. Okay, dare to think.
Has anybody ever said that to you?
Oh, yeah. Would you think before you speak? Yeah, that's been a pretty common theme in my life.
Dare to think before you speak.
We just please think before you speak has been kind of one of those things even since like kindergarten. Think before you speak. Do you think a Big 12 team will win a national championship in football in the next 3 to 5 years?
No.
Not even close?
Not even close.
Wow.
Do you?
Well, it honestly, it's hard to say yes. Just given given everything you just said, it's hard to believe that it's not going to come from the Big 10 or the SEC.
Yeah. And you can pick like 5 schools there, and ask me that you could give me about 6 or 7 schools, and say, do you think in the next 3 to 5 years a school outside of those 7 will win it? I will tell you no.
See, our darling daughter was in town this week, and I don't know how she came up with this for me. It was on the way home from the Overton, so maybe that was where it came from. But she said to me, would you, of the big 4 sports, football, both basketballs and baseball, if one of them won a national championship, would you get a tattoo, like a double T or something? She goes, I don't think you would, but would that happen? I said, well, your mom would. I said I might consider that. Then the question is, can we win a national championship in one of those 4 sports in the next 3 to 5 years? I don't know the answer to that question. It's really hard.
At Texas Tech?
Yeah.
In the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah.
I'm going to say no.
You're going to say no.
I don't think we will.
You don't think we will?
Because we've come so close in those 4 recently?
Well, that's just men's hoops.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.